Hello scholars, welcome back to the Kemet Maasai Academy as we continue our series of motivational videos for students. As usual, I'm reading from the Student's Master Plan, Hardcore Rules for a Lifetime of Success. The topic I'm looking at now is taking tests and sitting exams. The big T and the even bigger E. Tests and exams. These two 5-letter words have so much power. I've seen perfectly good and rational students transform into zombies days or even hours before an exam. Sweaty palms, fixed gaze, incoherent stutter, dilated pupils. Just kidding. But we've all been there. The dreaded hour arrives and you forget everything that you've learned, studied, heard, and swatted until after you hand in your paper. No. I should tell you, the exams in Jamaica, I did the common entrance, and that exam went up to, I think, about the late 80s or early 90s, thereabouts. And then they were replaced by the GSAT exams, and more recently, in the last couple years, by the PEP exams. And this is at the primary level. And of course, at the secondary level, we have in my day, we had the O-level GCE O-level exams, A-level exams, and the CSEC exams, now the CSEC and CAPE exams, and those take you up to the upper grades of high school, CSEC up to grade 11 and the CAPE up to grade 13. Now, whichever of those external exams the students are preparing for, it's typically the same in terms of the trepidation that students experience. And let me tell you, at the primary level, I think the parents go through more trauma sometimes, more trepidation, more sweaty palms, and hysteria than even the students. Sometimes we have heard, occasionally we hear of students even committing suicide. Occasionally that has happened. And I remember a very striking video a couple years ago of a little boy, I think he was about 12, and he was expressing that he felt so pressured. The exams were coming up and he knew he wasn't going to, that's what he was saying in the video. He said, I know I'm not going to do well, and I'm going to disappoint my parents, and I'm going to take my life. And he actually did, right? He filmed himself, and then he went ahead and he committed suicide. So exam preparation and this whole thing of the whole pressure of on the minds of students and parents, the pressure to perform, the pressure to get into a so-called good school, whether it's from primary to secondary or secondary to college. It's real. The pressure is real, the trauma is real. And some students do take it to the extreme where they either go into very deep depression, very deep anxiety, or end up taking their lives. So, this is something that we need to attend to, and just to encourage students that, listen, this is a rite of passage, and I believe in the Western culture, this is one of the most rigid rites of passage that our children experience. In other cultures, children have to go through more rigorous physical rites to transition from one stage to another. With us, exams are our rigorous rites of passage, and it's more mental, of course, and emotional than physical. But we all know each of these aspects, can have a severe effect on the child and on the parent, right? So I have seen parents, on the weeks and days leading up to the exam, they just cannot stay still, they can't sleep, they will call you and nag you, they're sometimes on the verge of going crazy because they just want to ensure that their child does well, that their child gets into a good school. And it doesn't matter you tell them, oh, he will bloom where he's planted. It's all about how he or she will take advantage of wherever they are, take advantage of the resources there, and keep working, and they will succeed. The parents don't want to hear that. We have a system that is streamlined, that is based according to merit, and so they want to know that their child is placed in a so-called traditional high school. And despite the efforts that are being made by the authorities to kind of level the playing field, it has not happened yet, certainly not happened yet. And so the parents are still insistent that their child does well enough to be placed in a traditional high school. And in terms of college, they would want to be in a good college where they can get scholarships or have a better chance, a more competitive chance. So it's a real deal. The big T and the big E, they are real, and parents will put the children under such severe pressure when it comes around to that time. They will be doing classes, regular classes, and then they'll shuttle them to an extra class here, another extra class there, extra class on the weekend. So it can be really rigorous on the child. Okay. Some people even argue that exams, or the imminent approach of them, and the repercussions of failing them are too taxing on the psyche of students and should be done away with altogether. Now, in some countries, I've heard they don't have tests until way into the primary level, right? Maybe grade 6, grade 5 and 6. So they don't test their students in the lower grades at all. But while they remain, so while these assessments, these types of assessments remain, here are some tried and tested pointers to help you survive them. Before the exams, study. And this is long before the exams. As soon as the term begins, start your studying. This is so obvious that some students overlook it. Read and reread your notes, highlight important points, check with other sources, double check with your teacher if there is anything you are not sure of. Now is the time to ask questions and get things straight. Take all the instruments and material that you're allowed to take, including identification and timetable if necessary. Be early or at least on time. Make sure you are comfortable. Do not take any contraband into the room to avoid disqualification and humiliation. I've heard of an entire school being disqualified one year from an external exam because a few boys were boisterous and they had electronic devices. The entire school was disqualified. Okay. During the exam, remain quiet, serious, and focused. Do not curse, swear, or pass out. Read all instructions carefully and only begin when told to do so. That's very important. Eliminate wrong answers by weeding out the ones that can't possibly be right. There's usually at least one of those. Go straight to the right answer if you know it, but examine all the others just in case all of the above varieties are thrown in to disorient you. So still be careful. Double check your answer. Fit it back into the original problem to see if the solution makes sense. Don't lose your wits if you see a problem that you've never seen before. Use what you know to find out what you don't know. Remember that every right answer counts. Every point gained is important. Take nothing for granted. So there are little skills that you can use, and the first of those is be prepared. And you start preparing for an exam the minute the term begins. That's when you start preparing. So every day you go home and you revise and you practice. And if you make this a daily habit, then it won't seem so overwhelming. When the time comes, when the exam is drawing nigh, and you just have weeks to go, days to go, hours to go. You don't have to be pulling your hair out and walking around talking to yourself. You won't feel overwhelmed because you're steadily doing a little bit each day and you're making this a practice. So all you really need to do is just do a little scan, the night before, just to remind yourself of the key concepts, and you're good. You don't even have to revise of the morning of the test if you don't want to. Some people are good with that. Some people, they like to just give a good glance over. For me, I can revise straight up to the minute before the exam. I won't feel flustered. But some people do. If they revise shortly before, it's like everything goes haywire. So you should know yourself, know your own system, and work with that. And of course, if it's a multiple choice test, use the process of elimination. Usually there are one or two of the 4 or 5 options, there are 1 or 2 that you can easily weed out. They can't possibly be right. Even if you don't know the content, just your common sense can tell you sometimes these just can't be. So read the question carefully, and then so you narrow down your options, and then you see between the 2 or 3 that are left, make the best choice. Don't just take it for granted and do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, as we used to say when we were little. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then whichever one your finger land on, in the end, you choose that one. You don't have to do that. Make educated guesses if you have to guess, but to avoid having to guess, prepare, because you will always know beforehand what topics you need to cover. You have your syllabus, you have your textbooks that are based on your syllabus. So just make sure you prepare. Be ready for the test, and then you won't feel flustered, right? And follow the rules of the exam. If you are told no calculators, don't take a calculator. Follow the rules. No talking, don't talk. And of course, it goes without saying, no cheating. No cheating. Students come up with some very innovative ways to cheat. And the kind of innovation that they use, you would think if they would put that innovation to good use, how brilliant they would be on the test, legitimately. If they went the legitimate way with that level of innovation, they would be excellent. Alright, so just prepare, be prepared. Be prepared. That's the best bet. That's the best chance you're gonna have, is to be prepared for the big T and the big E. Alright, if you have been motivated by this video, just share it so other students can be motivated as well. And please subscribe to the Kemet Maasai Academy, Remember that we have mathematics videos from grade 4 to grade 11, and these I would encourage you to take advantage of. Share them so other students can benefit from them, particularly those students who you know are really struggling in maths and could use that help. Alright, so scholars, I'll see you in the next video. Remember, be prepared. Be prepared.